Rand Paul. New Russia sanctions bill will cripple American families, not Putin. Congress is poised to consider a new bill, the proposed Sanctioning Russia Act, that critics say perfectly illustrates how out of touch Washington's foreign policy establishment is with everyday Americans. This legislation is presented as a way to hold Russia accountable for its war against Ukraine, now in its fifth year. But don't let our natural sympathy for Ukraine cloud the reality. This bill is essentially a massive tariff increase, seemingly written with such blind rage that its punitive measures would make American families poorer and undermine our national interests without actually changing Vladimir Putin's behavior. If passed, this bill could be the largest tax increase ever enacted by a Republican Congress, potentially costing American taxpayers $500 billion. It would slap a 500% tariff on all U.S. trade with Russia and give the president unilateral authority to impose up to 100% tariffs on all goods imported into the United States from the top 5 largest importers of Russian crude oil or natural gas, and any country facilitating Russian oil sanctions evasion. That list currently includes major U.S. trade partners like China, India, Japan, and European nations such as France, Hungary, Belgium, and Slovakia. These countries, along with Russia, represent nearly 40% of the world's total population. While some might be exempted if they reduce Russian energy imports, the list of penalized countries is subject to change every 6 months. Even U.S. partners like Turkey, Brazil, South Korea, and the European Union, who continue to import Russian oil and gas out of necessity, could soon find themselves targeted. Make no mistake, these tariffs will primarily be collected from American companies who import goods from these nations. When tariffs are placed on products made in China, for example, it's the average American consumer who pays that tax when they shop at stores like Walmart or Target. Companies like Walmart, Costco, and Home Depot expect billions in refunds from previous emergency tariffs because they, not China, are the ones paying the tax. They then pass those costs directly on to you. As economist Milton Friedman famously pointed out, tariffs are often sold as protective measures, but in reality, a tariff protects the consumer very well against one thing: low prices. The economic disruption from this bill could be worse than the Smoot-Hawley tariffs that exacerbated the Great Depression. Smoot-Hawley raised the average tariff by 20%. This bill threatens increases far more severe. China and India, in particular, are vital U.S. trade partners. The U.S. imported over $308 billion from China and over $103 billion from India in goods. Imposing a 100% tariff on all goods from these countries is the economic equivalent of shooting ourselves in the foot. Imagine telling minimum wage workers needing car parts, parents buying school shoes, or single mothers buying diapers that prices have suddenly doubled, especially during an election year when the cost of living is Americans' primary concern. It's also unclear how tariffs could even be imposed on individual members of the European Union, like Slovakia and Hungary, as the EU operates as a unified trade bloc. US-EU bilateral trade exceeded $1 trillion. Trying to tariff individual EU countries could very well result in the entire EU retaliating against the United States, an economically disastrous possibility for American families. Beyond tariffs, the bill includes more futile sanctions on Russian officials and companies. Russia is already under more than 26,000 sanctions, yet there is no evidence of any change in their behavior. The bill also bans U.S. citizens from doing business and investing in Russia and gives the president broad authority to sanction any foreign person determined to be undermining Ukraine. What that truly means is anyone's guess. Our Polish ally, for instance, recently has significant diplomatic fallout with the Ukrainian government over a controversial military unit. Is Poland now undermining Ukraine? Is Congress truly prepared to give the president such unilateral authority to sanction some of our most steadfast allies? To top it all off, the bill includes a mechanism for Congress to prevent a president from removing these tariffs for sanctions, but no way for Congress itself to remove them. This power could last far beyond any single administration, opening the door to potential abuse. It's foolhardy to think Russia, having sustained immense casualties, thousands of sanctions, and years of economic isolation, will now come to the negotiating table because the U.S. decides to tariff third countries. Moscow might even welcome the U.S. inflicting unnecessary economic self-harm and further degrading its relations with other global powers like India, whose rise could otherwise serve U.S. interests against China. Instead, we risk driving India directly into China's open arms. Congress should reject this misguided bill. It will do nothing to bring peace to Ukraine, but will undoubtedly raise prices for American consumers, further weaken the dollar, and damage U.S. relations around the globe.